Good day, everyone. This day, we shall focus on the discussion of the different practical applications of the seven electromagnetic waves type. But before that, let us try to among wavelength, frequency, and then energy. We have mentioned that the longer the wavelength, we will be having lower frequency, but the shorter the wavelength, then the higher energy. The wavelength as well as the frequency is indirectly or inversely proportional to one is also indirectly proportional with one another. Another thing is frequency and energy is directly proportional to one another. Those concepts were one of the different electromagnetic wave types. Right, so let's move on to the waves in our daily lives. We have to remember that these waves are actually very important in today's living because we are now starting with our industrial revolution, most specifically the what we call as the Internet of Things, that most of our jobs, most of our lifestyle are actually controlled or being facilitated by the internet. Lahat na lang, no? Limbawa, yung, and all of those things na that makes people's lives easier as compared to the past people. Okay po, ng mga kapanahunan natin, no? Kapanahunan ng mga magulang nyo rather, na traditional way as compared today. Mapapansin nyo po, dati yung mga cellphone ay 10 Pro Max na, no? So, yan. Through the development of the different things that involves the scientific way of involving different electromagnetic waves, there are things that we can use in order for us to, wait lang, going back, we have mentioned that the scientific innovation have given us more advanced devices, appliances as compared to before. All right, because as what is mentioned by, as I recall it, Dr. Michio Kaku, that science is the engine of prosperity. You take away science and you'll go back to the Stone Age. And that is very true because the scientific innovations are very essential in today's living in order for us to progress. Right, so let's move on now to the different electromagnetic waves type, most specifically their application in today's world. Let us start with the radio waves. Okay. The radio waves are the electromagnetic waves found on the left end of the electromagnetic share information over long distances. Radio waves have a very wide range of wavelength. Now, commonly, are having the different classification from extremely low to extremely high bandwidth or frequency range na sinasabi po natin dito. So, commonly po, ang pinaka-example natin dito, mas lower na example in terms of the lower frequency is the AM radio natin. Itong amplitude modulation or AM has actually longer, sabihin natin longer in terms of wavelength, and then sabihin po natin mas gumagana when we have yung mga typhoons or hurricanes. Okay po, as compared to the FM or yung tinatawag nating frequency modulation. Ang frequency modulation kasi or ang FM radio, mas shorter po yung wavelength and then therefore po, mas kaunti po yung nakakasagap ng signal. Kaya po commonly, AM radio po ang ginagamit kapag nare-receive ng AM as compared sa FM. Well, FM syempre, dito mga malinaw dito yung channels eh. Kung mapapansin niyo po sa mga AM radio, mapapansin niyo parang may mga crack-crack, no? Pero that disasters. Okay po, kasi ang AM radio, even though na ganun yun, gumagana po yun kahit may battery. Right? So that is pertaining to the amplitude modulation and then the frequency modulation as one of the practical examples. Other thing is, of course, we have here the TV broadcasting. Yung sinasabi po dito sa very high frequency pertains to the black and white television. While dito naman po sa ultra high frequency, upward television. Okay po, so sana naiintindihan po natin dito. And one of the examples of super high frequency radio wave is the satellite communication, which is all example. Kasi po itong super high frequency to very high or extremely high frequency radio communication is the starting point of satellite communication while until the microwave. Kasi commonly microwave are also used for the satellite communication. So itong pinakataas ng radio wave ay ang starting point po ng microwave. So yan. So I'm hoping that you can get what I mean po, no? So radio waves have the following characteristics. Just like any other waves that they cannot be seen, they can pass through walls. They are, of course, longer range and not light sensitive. So yan po yung ating sa radio wave, pinaka-example, the radio and then television. And we call as the microwave. They are used in satellite communications, radar, television transmission, and your cooking. Ayan. Ito, minention natin kanina no, na they are being used for satellite communication. Majority of satellite communication is actually utilizing a microwave signal that are transmitted by an antenna to a satellite, which amplify and retransmit it to the antenna in the other parts of the world. So some of the satellite communications are in a form of towers or antenna rin, pwede rin po yan. Ayan. Another thing and ranging or what we call as the radar. Radar are being used by those pilots or captains in the cruise or in the plane in order for them not to be sabihin natin para hindi maligaw, no? Kasi itong radar na to is the indicator kung kakaliwa or kakanan po yung eroplano. Okay po, they cannot go from one country to another country if they don't have this kind of system. Right. So just like yung mga nakikita niyo po sa mga palabas no na kapag halimbawa nasa eroplano ka, may nakikita kayong bilog and then may mga dot na green. So that is actually an example of particular radar kung kakanan ba ang piloto or kakaliwa. Just like what is happening also sa mga cruise, CRUISE, na mga kapitan, ito po yung pagtahak kung anong location na ba sila. Alright, so commonly po yan na ginagamit kasi kung nasa kalagitnaan ka ng dagat, wala ka na nakikitang land, you don't know where to go. This radar is very helpful in the access of the location in a particular setting. Right, so yan. Another one is what you call as the terrestrial communication. These are being used in order for us to have our common communication in terms of mobile signal or mobile phones. Yan po. And of course, lastly, microwave oven. Yan po. Foods are commonly being heated in order for us to have this kind of system in order to heat up a particular metal in an oven to make it heated. Ayan po siya, food being heated and more likely that representation is what you call as the convection. Ayan. So these are the other things po in terms of another type of in another type of electromagnetic wave which is what we call as the infrared. So ayan, halimbawa, particular telescope contains thermal imaging. So this particular example of a dog or living matter will tend to have different color in a particular nighttime or night vision. So yun po yung nakikita po natin dito. Ayan, ang mga buhay po, nakikita po yan sa dilim or mga night vision po. And infrared are being also used dati nung panahon namin before the Bluetooth and then share it. Meron kaming tinatawag na infrared no, sa mga lumang cellphone. We're exchanging different emoticons ata yun, pero yung mga emoticons na black and white lang. Gamit namin dati ay infrared before Bluetooth. So yan, ginagamit rin po yan dyan. And some of the things that you have to point out in terms of the different are in terms of photographs. Ayan, nakikita po natin yan. And commonly, they are also used for the different wireless devices such as yung remote controls po natin and then yung mga television natin, remote na they are being useful in terms of the communication between devices that are being wireless in nature. Halimbawa, yung mga sa computer, yung may mga wireless mouse kayo, wireless keyboards. So those are examples that involves the use of infrared wave. Ayan po. The visible light. Kanina pala, bakit siya tinatawag na infrared? Okay po, di ba may tinatawag tayong infrared and then ultraviolet. If we talk about infrared, ay nasa gitna, Roy G. Biv. Okay po, ang infrared occurring before the red color. Kaya nga po, we have the prefix infra because that is before the red color. After this visible light, meron tayong violet, no? And we call that as ultraviolet po. Kasi po, that prefix ultra may supersede the violet. So in the middle, we have the visible light. The order of that is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then indigo, as well as violet or the RGB. Right? So these colors are arranged based upon the longest wavelength going to the short energy and frequency going to high energy and then frequency. Meaning to say, mas mataas ang energy ng violet than the red. Okay po, so they are arranged from longest wavelength going to the shortest wavelength. So sana po natatandaan natin na that's very important point for consideration in terms of your learnings involving the colors. And then sinabi ko rin po sa discussion natin that whatever color that you can see all around you, that's why it reflects back in our eyes as that color. Halimbawa, itong kulay green dito, itong green na to, hindi ito na-absorb ng object na yan. Okay po, that's the reason why nagre-reflect back sa ating mata as kulay green. All of the colors were absorbed by that object except green. So that's all. So okay po, so sana naintindihan nyo yun kasi baka pag college nyo rin or senior high school nyo rin, tanungin din po yan ng mga other prof nyo or other teachers nyo po. Yan. So I hope that we are clear with the different colors that you can see all around you. The absence say without light, wala rin pong colors. Tingnan nyo sa napakadilim na lugar, no? Wala kayong makikitang colors. But with the light, we can see different colors. So tatandaan po natin yan. That's a very important the colors. Ayan. So nasabi natin dito, no? Decreasing kasi from longest to shortest wavelength. Ayan po. Red to violet po yan. Next natin is the ultraviolet radiation. Ultraviolet radiation lies just beyond the violet end of the visible spectrum. They can damage tissue, burn the skin, and damage the eyes. Hospitals make use of UV to sterilize medical instruments to kill harmful bacteria, and they are being used in the sterilization process of the different laboratory equipments or laboratory tools. That's the reason why you cannot enter a particular operating room if you are not proceeding with a particular protocol of a hospital. Kaya nga po kadalasan no, sa mga telenovela or sa mga drama, bawal na bawal kang pumasok sa operating room because you can infect the patient that are being operated. Kadalasan po nasa labas ka lang kasi talagang kailangan mo ring dumaan sa proseso before you will be allowed to enter. Pero commonly hindi po kayo pinapayagan. Kasi po they are sanitized in office or one of the radiation or wave that they are using are actually the ultraviolet for the sterilization. And so I'm hoping that you can get what I mean, no? And another thing that one that causes ultraviolet is the ray coming from the sunlight. So the light itself coming from the sunlight exceeds the violet color. And that is what you call as the ultraviolet. Okay po. So without the ozone layer, O3, no, triatomic what do you call this element, O3. Without this O3, na sinasabi po natin, we will be susceptible to the harmful effects of the sunlight. Kaya nga po, kapag halimbawa nasosobrahan tayo sa pollution, that causes the depletion of the ozone layer, meaning to say, nagdi-decrease po yung ozone, ozone level, commonly po, very detrimental po yan sa ating health or sabihin po natin nakaka-apekto rin po yan sa ating health. Kasi po, aside sa burning of the skin, there are also adverse effects that ultraviolet can have in terms of our well-being. Okay po, ozone is beneficial in terms of the about the stratosphere, but commonly po, ozone is also, sabihin natin, dangerous once it reaches the ground. Okay po, and some of the things that can also hinder the production of ozone are the use of yung may mga CFC, DDTs, yung mga chlorofluorocarbons, and yung may mga dichlorodephényl trichloroethane are actually dangerous to the um, ozone layer. Ayan po. Kasi po, once na gumamit kayo niyan, which is already being banned or banned all around the world, yun po yung kadalasang nakaka-apekto sa ozone layer po natin na nabubutas po. Kaya po, mostly yung mga ultraviolet ay nakakapasok po um, sa ating mundo. Kasi ang ultraviolet can be man-made or natural. Ang natural dito na sinutukoy po natin ay yung emission coming from the sunlight. That without ozone layer, ultraviolet can penetrate us. Okay po, kaya nga hindi po habitable layer niya or nila ay super nipis. Okay, so may mga ganong bagay which is not habitable in terms self kasi na different layers tayo and different layers pertains to the different elements and then compounds that are present in our atmosphere. Right, no, UV radiation in terms of sterilization processes that are used for medical practices. Ayan po. Meron din tayo dito ginagamit na mga ano 'no, na mga chemicals for us to use in our protection for the sunlight, um, not to be affected by the skin burns. Commonly, yung mga SPF, yung mga sun protection factor nyo, no? Kayong bibili ng mga SPF na mga less than 18, 18 plus plus. May mga PA pa yan. Okay, commonly, ang suggested po ay yung may mga SPF 50 plus 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 or mas mataas pa na SPF. Kahit mahal, that can definitely protect you from the adverse effects of the ultraviolet or the sunlight. Kasi kung wala kang SPF, commonly, um, tingnan nyo yung mga nagtatrabaho sa mainit na lugar, halimbawa yung mga isda or sabihin natin mga carpenters, di ba, commonly ang nangyari sa balat nila is umiitim. Because that is actually one of the, sabihin natin, no, wait lang ha, pause ko. Okay, that is one of the defense mechanism of your skin in order for it to prevent from being burned by the sunlight. Yung melanin production nila po, yung mga nagtatrabaho sa maaraw na lugar, ay tumataas po. Kaya po umitim yung balat nila in order for them to be protected also from the sunlight. Kagaya po yan ng pagsiswimming nyo, no, na limbawa, ang swimming kayo, nag-beach kayo, kadalasan po umiitim kayo kapag wala kayong mga sunblock. Kasi po, that's the natural mechanism of your skin to protect yourselves from the adverse effect of the sunlight. Kasi without the tanning effect of your skin, commonly po, that can also penetrate with your internal tissues that can damage your layer of the skin. And po, so I'm hoping that you can get what I mean here po. All right. Lastly, ay hindi pa pala, we have the X-ray, no? The X-ray, and this is the Roentgen. Bakit siya tinawag na X-ray? Kasi wala akong maisip si Roentgen, no, na term. Mathematician din nata ito. Kaya siya tinawag na X. Ginamit niya si X. Ginamit niya lang ang X for it to be called as an X-ray. O yan. One of the difference of X is this can penetrate up until our bones. Kaya nga po, we are not allowed, sabihin po natin, magpa-X-ray ng regularly in a particular month because this can also deteriorate some of your cells or babawal din po na sobra-sobra ang pag-i-X-ray sa inyo within a particular month. Kasi po, that can penetrate up until the bones. Nakikita po dyan kung may mga nasira po kayong bones or sabihin natin nag-crack condition. Yan. Yan. We have a short wavelength X-ray can penetrate even through the metals. All X-rays are dangerous because they can damage healthy living cells of the body. As what I have just mentioned kanina po, no? Ayan. The highest frequency or the highest energy. Shortest wavelength po ito. But they can be used in the radiotherapy or chemotherapy in order for the cancer cells to be treated or to be killed. Ayan. They are also used in the sterilization and some of the gamma rays can be found in the radioactive substances. Pwede rin po ito makita no, sa mga black holes kasi black holes are very immense in terms of energy and frequency. Okay po, sa mga dying stars na yan, sa mga intergalactically matter po na yan. So they are also existing in those concepts that are beyond our capacity to experience. Kasi hanggang ano lang tayo, theoretical principle lang po tayo dito. Kasi no one experienced that. Kasi kung naandyan ka, patay ka agad kasi super ang energy po niyan. Alright. So, I'm hoping that you learned something today and please be prepared for our summative test next meeting. Alright. This is it. Thank you so much. Goodbye.